Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Overwatch Weekly. Quite a few things to cover today, so let's just jump right into it with the first story, which is we have the 1.45.0.0 patch notes, and I know everyone loves when I do the patch note numbers just straight up, but there's some interesting stuff with these patch notes. So the first thing is Ashe's Mardi Gras challenge, but we'll talk a little more about that here in a little bit. Let's jump into the general updates and the hero updates next, because those are the things that I think people want to hear about. So general updates. New feature, hero pools. We will be introducing hero pools starting in Season 21 of competitive play. Much like map pools, rather than having all heroes available for play at all times, a weekly changing list of heroes will be available. The list will include the vast majority of the hero roster, with only a few being excluded during any given week. We think this feature will help keep competitive play interesting, as team compositions will change more frequently during a season. It is important to note that hero pools is a new feature that may not last past this initial season. Throughout the season, we'll be adjusting the types of hero pools available. In addition, it is possible we will also adjust the frequency with which they change. So this is obviously something we knew about. They talked about it in the dev update that they put out a little while ago, but this is just a little more detail on it, which I think is pretty cool. Next thing with this update is the experimental card is finally here. And with it comes our first experimental mode, which is 3-2-1, which is a 3 DPS, 2 tank, 1 support. 3 DPS, 2 supports, 1 tank rule set. So, let's go through what they say here. We've added a new card labeled Experimental within the play menu where Overwatch players can try new balance updates, rule sets, and game modes that might be awesome or might not ever make it past the experimental stage. Unlike the PTR, the experimental area is not intended to be used for bug and instability testing. Players from all platforms will be able to test major gameplay changes, with the hope that you'll provide us with feedback on your experience. Some of the changes we test will be vastly different than what you're used to. We want to reiterate that the changes we will be testing are not guaranteed to reach the retail version you're used to playing. Experimental will not always be available. It will come and go as we have things we'd like you to try, and may sometimes only last for brief periods of time. Since Experimental is available in the retail version of Overwatch, you will be able to earn experience and progress towards win-based event unlocks by participating. The first set of changes we want to test is a mode titled Triple Damage, which modifies the existing 2-2-2 roll queue system. In this mode, teams will be composed of 1 tank, 3 damage, and 2 support heroes. One of our hopes with this test is to see if this change reduces queue times for the damage roll. So, with the changes to Experimental mode, there are some hero changes for the tank heroes, because there are now, one of them instead of the usual number of them. So let's go through these. They're really interesting, honestly. Like they're weird. So let's just jump into these. So the first one we have is for Diva. The armor to health ratio is adjusted. So the base health remains 600, but the armor health pool was increased from 200 to 400, and the base health was decreased from 400 to 200. Remember, this is only for experimental. This is not in the main game. And the defense matrix duration was increased from 2 seconds to 4 seconds, and the fusion cannon's movement penalty was reduced from 50% to 30%. Orisa's protective barrier cooldown reduced from 10 seconds to 8 seconds, and the barrier health was increased to 900. Reinhardt, they adjusted the armor to health ratio. Total health is still 500. Armor health pool increased from 200 to 300. Base health decreased from 300 to 200. Rocket Hammer, his primary fire, the damage increased from 75 to 90. And the barrier field regeneration rate was increased from 200 to 250 per second. Now here's where we get some of the fun stuff. Roadhog's Take a Breather now leaves behind a cloud when used. This cloud heals all allies in it for 25 health per second and provides 25% damage reduction, which is wild. Chain Hook cooldown was reduced from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Scrap Gun's primary fire damage per pellet was reduced from 6 to 5, which is 150 damage per shot, down to 125. And then Whole Hog's cost was increased by 15%. Sigma's experimental barrier regeneration rate was increased from 120 to 200 per second, and the barrier health was increased from 900 to 1,200. Winston's armor health pool is increased from 100 to 200, so his total health is now 600. And the barrier projector cooldown was reduced from 13 seconds to 10 seconds. Zarya, which has a ton of fun stuff. General changes, the shield's health pool is increased from 200 to 300, so the total is now 500. And the maximum energy gain per barrier was decreased from 40 to 30. Particle Cannon primary fire, maximum primary fire damage per second was reduced from 170 to 140. The secondary fire maximum damage reduced from 95 to 80. Particle Barrier for self, the cooldown was decreased from 10 seconds to 8 seconds. The Particle Barrier, cannot talk today, ally one, now creates barriers on all allies within 8 meters of your target, and the duration increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. So these are some really crazy changes, honestly. They're wild, and it's kind of fun. Some general updates as well. The game mode selector in the career profile is now sorted more logically to make it easier to use. A group leader may not use the leave as group option while a competitive game is currently in progress. The initial assemble heroes timer for getting games using the assault, hybrid control, and payload game modes has been reduced from 40 to 35 seconds. They've updated the interactions between all stuns, flashbang, earth shatter, freeze, sleep, accretion to be more consistent. New stuns will only replace existing stuns if their duration is longer than the time remaining on the current one. For example, a flashbang stun will not apply to someone who's just been earth shattered. Note, we use the minimum guaranteed stun time for Honestly, which right now is 1.5 seconds. Time to fall down plus time to stand back up. May's Ice Wall now has a visual damage state when under half health. A bunch of other workshop changes as well and some bug fixes if you want to check those out. I will link to the patch note as always in the description. But real quick, before we jump on to the next thing, which is the Ashe's Mardi Gras challenge, they did put out an experimental mode dev update. So if you want to check that out, I'll have that linked in the description as well. There was also an article that they did on the Overwatch website, and I'll have that linked as well. That was an article, it was basically an interview with Jeff Kaplan and Michael Heiberg on experimental mode. So that is something you can check out as well. Let's talk about Ashe's Mardi Gras challenge. So this is just like the similar challenge we had with the Anna's Bastet challenge, or the Mercy Recall challenge, or the Baptiste challenge, or the Divas Nanocola challenge. The same type of challenge as that. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. So from now until March 9th, players will be able to earn 2 limited time player icons, 7 sprays, and the epic Mardi Gras Ashe skin for a total of 10 new rewards. So here's a look at your in-game rewards. So you have, win 3 games, you get 2 player icons, one of a Mardi Gras Ashe, one of a Mardi Gras Bob. At 6 games, you get like a Mardi Gras mask spray, and then at 9 games, you get the Mardi Gras Ashe epic skin, which is just called Mardi Gras Ashe. And of course, these are on top of any arcade winnings you would get. And as those other challenges had as well, there are also some rewards you can get for watching Twitch streams. So they are at 2 hours, you get a Wrecking Ball spray where he's like on a donut. At 4 hours, you get one of Brigitte and Torbjorn eating a lot and Zenyatta looking kind of festive. And then at 6 hours, you get a McCree, a Reaper, and a Lucio Mardi Gras thing. So of course, to do that, you have to watch Twitch streams, and you have to connect your Twitch account to your Blizzard account, and you will get them when the time comes. And there's a link to more information on Twitch drops that you can check out as well. Now, every channel that is streaming in the Twitch Overwatch game category will be able to get you rewards for this event, so you don't have to necessarily watch the featured streamers. There is a list of featured streamers in the article or on the page if you want to check that out, just for ease or anything like that. If that is something you want to do, definitely in the description, click the link about the challenge and you will get to the place that you probably want to get to, because it's where you will find all the information you need on the featured streamers and what having the featured streamers does for you, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really mean anything. You just get the same stuff you would get normally, but you don't have to watch the featured streamers. But if you want to watch them, they are listed as well. It's the same as pretty much every other challenge. You win, you get rewards. You watch, you get rewards. That's really all there is to it. I want to talk about now something that happened on the forums recently with Jeff Kaplan talking about stuff about the experimental card. So I wanted to kind of highlight some of the interesting things that he said. So this is on a forum post titled Experiment Time by N7 Warrior, who said, how long are these cards expected to be up for data collection? Will this vary across experiments? I'm not talking 3-2-1 specifically, but the card forms in general. What can we expect from this card in the future? How should players plan around it? And Jeff replied, saying, we'll probably leave this up for a few days, a week at most. We want to cover a few prime times in each region as it will help with data collection. For example, the time that I'm posting this, it is in prime time on the East Coast in the US. So this is around after it first dropped. Once the card comes down, the next changes coming to it will most likely be balance changes. Things as extreme as 3-2-1 will be rare. I would expect the card to come up every few weeks and stay up for a few days, if that answers the question. A bit confusing, but the PTR will also be coming up, possibly even during the duration of this current experiment. There are certain things that can only be tested on PTR and cannot be tested in an experiment. For example, if you wanted to make a change to May's Ice Wall Collision, we would need a PTR for that. Purely random example. Yeah. So from this, we learned that a PTR patch is coming soon, and that's a very good thing to learn. And likely, not only is one coming soon, but there will be changes to the Blizzard May thing, or the Ice Wall interaction. That's it. So, yeah, another thing that Jeff said is that there also will not be a dev update before each one. As I mentioned, there was one this time around, but that won't normally be the thing. One person said, Jeff, I love playing tank again. You brought the power fantasy aspect back. I can't go back to 2-2-2 as a tank. Jeff replied, I'm glad you're enjoying it. The feedback is really polarizing. Seems mostly negative to me so far, but that's anecdotal. For what it's worth, queue times are amazing. On average, less than 3 minutes. Damage queue times are currently 1 minute. 1.5 minutes in Korea, our most impacted region. But we'll see how it settles. I'm not expecting this to go live, given the community's mostly negative reaction so far. But who knows? Which is interesting. I don't think it will go live because it is very much something that most people are not a fan of from what I have seen, which is something certainly to take note of. I haven't tried it out yet. In practice, I'm not a huge fan of it because I think it puts way too much pressure on the single tank. And yes, they're doing stuff to make the tanks better, but I just think it's so much more like And as someone who plays tank sometimes but isn't a tank player, I'm not crazy about it. So I would prefer to not have the tank thing be a common thing, because that is not something that I love. But yeah, there's a couple other things as well that were talked about. One of them is that they're going to try to put patch notes into the game client, but it's something that they're going to work on as they get closer to that. There's a couple other things in here as well. I'll link in the description to the initial post by Jeff, and you can just kind of go from there and scroll through, find some other stuff. But I want to get on to the next two and final stories to wrap this thing up. The first story is something about the Overwatch League. So this is a tweet that I will read to you, then I'll talk about it here in a second. In order to protect the health and safety of our players, fans, and staff, we are canceling plans to host OWL 2020 matches in South Korea in weeks 5, 6, and 7, including the Seoul Dynasty home event. We'll share more info about when and where matches will take place at a later date. So obviously this is another response to the coronavirus. The coronavirus has reached South Korea, and they are taking the necessary precautions to protect the health and safety of players, fans, and staff. So that's really where we are right now, and that is what we are looking at. So I think it's interesting. I think it's the right move just because it is something to look at and say, yeah, this makes sense. Why we are not seeing a number of matches in an area where there is the coronavirus going around. But it is unfortunate to see this. We're not going to see these teams until who knows when, though there is still a possibility that we could see matches take place in weeks 5, 6, and 7. You know, it's week 4 next week, or this week is week 4. So who knows when they get them to the U.S. and whatnot. But week 6 and 7, it's possible we can still get makeup matches then. I don't know if it would be an additional homestand or if it would be that they would have an area in LA or somewhere that they would just have the matches played. We'll have to find out. Who knows? But we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we see some of these teams play. Final thing is that this Sunday, March 1st, the Overwatch League will be having the Week 5 Hero Pool draw, which will be during the Watchpoint post show, where we will be seeing one tank, one support, and 2 damage heroes banned for the week. And I think it'll be very interesting. And if I had to take my guess for the heroes that I think will be banned, I think it will probably be Lucio, Reinhardt, and then Mei and McCree. Those are the heroes that I think have been the most played. I think they are the most likely to be drawn to be taken out of the pool. So that is my thoughts on that. And that is everything that I have for you today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything in the description or the comments down below. I'm really out of it today, I'm not going to lie. So let me know your thoughts on anything down below. I'd love to hear from you and what you have to say, but that is everything. So I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah. Have a good week. Have a good day. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.